What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to support the channel, additionally you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to my high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Now let's get into today's Deck Tech with Derevi. And this is a secret commander, but Derevi is going to be perfect for it because the secret commander of this deck is Hylda. This girl is insane. Not only does she have a way to give you a board state, she has a way to buff that board state, and then she has a way to draw cards. She kind of just does everything. All we need is a lot of mana, which is why we need access to green. So now that we have access to green and Derevi in the command zone, not only do we have a consistent way to tap our opponent's creatures down, additionally we can untap all of our mana dorks to generate more mana. So Seedborn Muse is also going to be amazing in this deck, basically giving us 3 extra turns, which is insane. It's kind of the fair way to take extra turns in casual, and then additionally while we're taking those extra turns, we're tapping all of our opponent's creatures down, generating a massive board state, buffing that massive board state up, and then we're attacking them with a massive board state out of nowhere. So if that sounds like a deck tech you want to get into, let's get into it. Let's kick it off by going over the 31 tap synergies we have in this deck. Birds of Paradise, Noble Hierarch, and Findhorn Elves. Very efficient ramp early game, and then again we can use Derevi and some other pieces to untap them. Fairbrew Elder, Bloom Tinder, Kami of Whispered Hopes, and Incubation Druid. What's really important about these ones is they're all mana positive. So even if we have to pay a little bit of mana to untap them, whenever we tap them again we'll be netting mana. So these can be incredibly explosive ramp pieces in the deck. Sharika is not only one of the best looters, additionally we're going to get a little bit of a board state, and late game we're going to get a giant beater. Sheree of Numbing Depths, not only do we get to draw some cards whenever we're tapping down our opponent's creatures, but additionally she does tap down creatures on ETB. Variety Circle, another way to draw cards whenever we tap our opponent's creatures. Hylda's Crown of Winter, not only is this explosive card draw, but again it's another solid way to tap down our opponent's creatures. The One Ring was just too tempting to not put in this deck. I mean, we have a consistent way to untap it. We have a lot of other ways in the deck to untap it. The card advantage is just going to be crazy. Get this and Seedborn Muse out, and I don't see how you lose that game. Yisan the Wanderer Bard. Now, this is going to be very solid to get us into our Hylda while also getting the advantage pieces we need to tap down our opponent's creatures. So it kind of serves two purposes in the deck. The line's going to look something like this. We're going to grab our Giant Killer into the Bloom Tinder for mana. Court Street Denizen has an insane interaction we'll go over later. From there, you just grab Hylda, and then your last trigger is going to grab your Seedborn Muse, and now you have an unstoppable board state with a crazy engine. Junkwinder and Court Street Denizen have an insane interaction with Hylda, since they both trigger on tokens or white creatures entering the battlefield. As long as we're creating the tokens with Hylda, her ability will keep triggering, and as long as we have mana to put in that ability, we can just keep getting a bigger and bigger board state. Willbreaker just seemed too broken not to put in the deck. All we have to do is start tapping our opponent's creatures down and gaining control of them, because that's fair magic. Puppet Strings Puppeteer, Fate Stitcher, Tide Force Elemental, and Nyleas of the Breath. I chose these specific creatures as my tappers of choice because not only do they tap our opponent's creatures down, but they can also untap our creatures. So not only do these guys allow us to trigger Hylda consistently, additionally we can use them to untap our own mana dorks to generate an insane amount of mana. Citadel Siege is going to be super solid. It nets us at least 3 activations of Hylda, so that's pretty good. Tempest Caller, a solid way to just tap everybody's creatures, giving us a ton of opportunity to activate Hylda's ability, and then there are some ways to put this back in our hand and throw it back onto the battlefield, so that can be pretty oppressive. Coma Cosmos Serpent. This guy's a solid way to not only tap down our opponent's creatures, but it's a solid game ender as well. This guy was already oppressive, now he's going to feel super oppressive in this deck. Quest for Renewal, Seedborn Muse, and Drum Bellower are going to be our untappers of choice. With the right board state, it can kind of feel like we get 3 extra turns with this, which is going to be amazing. Glare of Subdual. Not only is this card just amazing in the deck, additionally it pairs with our Seedborn Muse effects crazily. We can attack with our creatures since you know it's not our turn, so now all we have to do is tap down all our elementals to trigger Hylda to generate more elementals. This card can really snowball out of control very easily. Inga and Asika, I just wanted more ways to tap my creatures for mana, so they might as well tap for mana while additionally giving me card draw, right? Last but not least, we have Hylda herself. Like I said, this card's just an insane value engine. Not only do you get a board state, you get to buff that board state, and you get card advantage. It's everything in one card. Moving on to the core of the deck, Hylda's very important to our plan, so we need more ways than just Yisan to get her on the battlefield. Eldamri's Call, Worldly Tutor, and Court of Calling are going to be perfect for this. Additionally, we are going to play the Green O'Hare because this is just a very good way to dig deep and get us to our key pieces while smashing face. Shared Summons can net us not only Hylda, but additionally our Seedborn Muse, and then Eldritch Evolution. Kind of the same thing, right? We're immediately going to kill our Derevi to either grab our Hylda or our Seedborn Muse. Since Derevi has that Broken Eminence ability, we're not even going to care that much that we sacrificed him. Galadriel is going to be amazing. Not only is it another way to get +1/+1 counters on our creatures, but additionally it's a solid way to add mana or draw cards, right? Kind of does a little bit of everything like Hylda. Ascend from Avernus is going to be amazing in this deck. Our strategy's kind of all in, right? It's all on our board state. We're throwing a lot of creatures on the battlefield, and we need a lot of key pieces to stay there for this strategy to work. So when that gets wiped, it's going to really hurt us. But Ascend from Avernus can make sure we get all of our key pieces back from the graveyard onto the battlefield. Thada Adel, now usually this girl just wants to steal a bunch of soul rings, but I thought it'd be fun to see how many tap artifacts people are running. If I could get 2 copies of the One Ring, I'm definitely taking that. Eternal Witness can return anything we need back from our graveyard. 3 visits, Farseek, Nature Lore, just some solid ramp, and then obviously we are running Soul Ring. Moving on to card advantage, we have Guruk's Uprising and Elemental Bonds. These are going to be amazing for when we're creating those elementals, and Elemental Bonds is going to be even good with Coma. Now we're drawing a card a turn while creating a serpent, it gets broken fast. Ornn Frostfang and Toski, Bearer of Secrets, now we have a solid way to get card advantage while bashing face. Elevir kind of does the same thing here. She's super budget and kind of effective. She gets you a card draw on ETB, and then slowly she just starts buffing your board state and getting you more card advantage over time. Chulane, Teller of Tales, super solid here. Now whenever we cast a creature spell, we get to draw a card, we get to throw a land into play, and then additionally, if we want any more ETBs off our creatures, we can throw them back into our hand and throw them back out to the battlefield. Danny Pink is really busted in this deck. Just picture Galadriel or Hylda on the battlefield. Now we put a 1/1 counter on all of our creatures. Yeah, that's just not okay. We're going to get a ton of card advantage that way. Cutsil not only kind of protects our strategy on our turn, but additionally, if we activate that counter ability, we're going to get some solid card advantage. Moving on to removal, we have Swan Song and an Offer You Can't Refuse as our counter spells. Glenalindra is also going to make this cut because honestly, if we start putting 1/1 counters on her, it cancels out the Persist negative counter, so you just have near infinite counter spells. It's kind of busted. Beast Within and Generous Gift are just very flexible removal pieces. Swords to Plowshares and Nature's Claim are a little bit more restrictive, but still very good and very efficient. Azuri's Predation seemed solid here. If we do kind of get hated out of the game, now we have a solid way to get back into the game while killing all of the token players' creatures. Bane of Progress, it's kind of a staple at this point for me at least, getting rid of all of those artifact and enchantment strategies, and then we have Austere Command, one of the most flexible board wipes in the game. In closing, Derevi and Hylda are kind of just messed up together. You're never scared of creature strategies. Now the go wide player can kind of get you there because honestly we don't have enough mana in the world to tap down all their tokens, but we are not scared of go high strategies at all. Eldrazi's don't really bother us, not even in the slightest. You can even make deals with your opponents. Hey, I won't tap that down if it doesn't come my way, and then you just kind of take control of the game like a Go deck does, but you do it with politics. With that being said, I would like to thank my patrons, especially my high contributing ones, Newsome, Chicken Salad, Excessum. You guys really keep the channel going. I appreciate all of you as well as all my other patrons. You guys are amazing. With that being said, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.